lovelies, I hope you're well. Now I'm thinking about it, this is the type of conversation that you should really have over a cup of tea, so I'm going to go make one. I will be back in a minute. Right, now we've got that sorted. Of course it's a penguin mug, it's me. So this is one of those videos that I always sit there and think, should I make it, should I not make it? Is it worth making? Is it something that people want to listen to? And maybe it isn't, but there might be someone out there that does and needs to listen to what I have to say. And I think about sort of my life and what an adventure it has been so far, and the positions that I have found myself in the past, which we will talk about in this video at some point. And I would have needed this video, and it potentially would have changed my outlook on life just a little bit, maybe not massively. I'm not saying it's going to change the world, but it maybe would have given me a little bit of perspective and grounded me a little bit, and also it would have been something that I could relate to and know that I wasn't alone in the way that I was feeling. Because the topic that I am going to speak about today is something that not a lot of people associate with me because of the way that my personality is. Joking and humour is my defence mechanism, so I'm always doing that. So the topic that I'm about to talk about, which as you can tell, I'm already procrastinating from saying the word because it's such a hard thing to talk about. You may have noticed in videos I do for this channel, videos I do for the British Bandsman, that I have a tattoo, and this is my tattoo. And those of you who know what this symbol means will know what I'm about to talk about, and those of you who don't, you will know by the end of the video. So the topic that I'm going to talk about today is suicide and suicide prevention, because during this month, it's a topic that's talked about a lot, as it should be. As the nights kind of draw in and it gets more wintry and a bit darker and a bit colder, it can affect our mood, it can affect our mental health, and any kind of issues that we do take into the winter months, I know from experience, kind of sometimes get a bit exacerbated. As somebody who has a mental illness, I do tend to feel worse in the winter months than I do in the summer months. So I'm prepared to feel a bit rubbish. But I'm going to tell you a little story that not a lot of people know about me. I don't talk about it often. And I'm going to tell it in a bit more detail than I have previously on this channel. I have made videos about mental health on this channel, but I've never actually told this particular story. And hopefully, if you're feeling like this, I hope that it helps in any way, but I hope at least it helps to know that there are so many who feel the way that you do. And you don't have to pretend to be alright if you're not. Even though you might be the joker of the group, or the one that's always picking somebody else up, or the one that's always trying to make people happy, you know, you don't have to be that person all the time. If you are feeling that life is not with it at the moment, or life is a bit hard at the moment, what I'm about to tell you can happen to you. And if you're thinking of pushing that button, honestly, it's not worth it. It's not, because you do not know what's around the corner. So anyway, grab yourself a brew. I'm going to stop procrastinating and get on with what I want to say, and I will tell you a story. So I've always really been the joker of my group, always have been. I've always been the one that tries to make people laugh. I'm sort of the Rottweiler of the group. If anybody needs a problem solving, I tend to be the one that gets angry over it and goes and sorts it. So in December 2016, sort of the way that I felt, I didn't anticipate me ever feeling that way. And I've experienced mental illness for quite a few years now. I've had anxiety since I was 16 and I'm nearly 24. It's quite a while. And in December 16, I've been suffering with anxiety for a while, and it's been something I got used to when I thought I was coping with it. And I decided to go to university. At the time I thought that was the right step for me. It wasn't, it's not for everyone, it was a learning curve, and it's one of those things. But I got a place in a music college, which obviously was the dream, it was great. And I remember going, and those first sort of 8 weeks were some of the best weeks of my life. They were phenomenal. You know, being around like-minded people who are all into similar things that you are, you know, into music and into composing and into, you know, just like even little things like having a little sing-song in the kitchen. It was great, and I was very, very lucky with the flatmates that I had because they were so lovely. I know some people aren't as lucky. And I was surrounded by brass banders as well that were around my age, and it was great. And it was great to be a little bit geeky and I enjoyed playing with the uni brass band and some amazing musical experiences that I probably will never get again, but you know, it was great. And what was really annoying is during these 8 weeks, I really thought my anxiety would go through the roof because I was moving away. You know, I was used to living in a small village where you can hear a pin drop at night, it's deathly silent, to moving to Manchester, which is a massive city, which is really loud all the time, even at 3 o'clock in the morning when you're trying to go to sleep. Obviously living away from my family, I've always been, I am a home bird. I like being near my family and around my family even when they are driving me mental. I'm basically starting up on my own, and if I needed to get anywhere I had to get the train, which was a massive trigger for me at the time. Sounds stupid, but getting on a train was a real anxiety trigger for me at the time. And I was coping and my anxiety just seemed to have gone, and I was like, well, maybe this is what it takes. It takes me exposing myself to all these different things that scared me previously to get used to them and do them. And in some ways it was brilliant because I did get used to doing those things, so now I can do those things. But unbeknownst to me, it hadn't gone away. It was just kind of lying dormant, and had, maybe because I was so excited or so distracted by so many things, it just didn't really interfere as much. I was getting up at 7 o'clock in the morning and putting a full face of makeup on at 7 o'clock in the morning, which is just not me, and was so excited about life. I used to get up in the morning and I didn't feel this sort of dread or fear. I was just excited about everything. And then after 8 weeks, it started to filter back in again. It was almost like, guess who's back? It's me, anxiety, how are you? And it just kind of got involved with everything. So at first it was kind of like getting up in the morning became really difficult, not just because of the late nights through going out, just even when I'd not been out the night before, getting up early in the morning. It wasn't necessarily that I was tired at first. It wasn't that I was tired, it was just scared, really. Just a bit scared. And then night times became really difficult and I couldn't sleep. It was almost like I became really sensitive to every single sound that was going on, which when you live in Manchester and not far away from a hospital and there's ambulances and sirens and people screaming, and not because they're going to the hospital, but you know, people outside are a bit drunk and come back from the club and are screaming and shouting. It's hard to sleep. So when you're already dealing with quite severe anxiety and then can't sleep, those of you who know, it's not easy to cope with when you're already tired to then cope with anxiety. And panic attacks started. And they were cruel. Like, I'd experienced panic attacks for about maybe a year, maybe 2 years before I went to university, so I knew what they were like. But these ones were they were incessant. It was literally like, if it wasn't every other day, it was every day. It kind of hit me around this time that there'd been a lot of things in my life that my anxiety had spoiled, is what I thought at the time. When I look back, I don't think it's actually spoiled many things in my life. But at that time, it was like, I had a job prior to that where I was working in a school, and I had so much enthusiasm for a couple of months, and my anxiety set in and ruined it. And I was dreading going into work, not because I didn't like my job, but because my anxiety maybe felt like I wasn't very good at it, or that something really bad was going to happen, or I was going to do something really bad and get fired. More and more this realisation of my anxiety is going to ruin everything in my life, that there's no point carrying on, just became a broken record in my head. So then I did a lot of nice things over that Christmas, before Christmas, over that sort of period in December. I went to London with my friends. I went to Christmas markets with my roommates who were lovely they knew about my anxiety and were lovely about it. But I tried to do lots of really nice things during that time in December. Because in the back of my mind, I don't know, it was just kind of like, this is coming to an end. It needs to come to an end because it's pointless. Life is pointless. Because no matter what I do, it's going to get to a point where my anxiety kicks in and I don't enjoy it anymore. No matter what I do in life, whether it's band, whether it's a job, whether it's uni, whether it's an experience, whether it's an opportunity that I've been given, anything that I do in life is going to be ruined by my anxiety, so what's the point? This is the point where depression had set in. But you don't know, and sometimes you pass it off as different things. But it does make you short-sighted, I'll say that. When you're in this kind of place, you don't see past the end of your nose. You don't see that, well, things can get better. And I've learnt to cope in so many situations with my anxiety. Maybe the situation I'm in is just not for me. Not that my anxiety is going to ruin everything. Maybe the situation that's making me feel so bad is just not for me. But I didn't see it like that at this point. I also didn't see that if I did push the end button, the amount of stuff I'd be leaving behind and the amount of stuff in front of me that that door would just be closed. And I didn't see it, and I decided the last day of term was going to be the last day of my term. Because it meant that I'd experienced lots of nice things with roommates, I'd experienced lots of nice things with my friend, and it was a nice way to sort of round everything off. I don't think I've ever told anyone other than those who are really, really close to me this bit. So I planned on that last night of university that I was going to go and take myself somewhere where no one who I cared about would find me, and that would be the end of that. I didn't think about the person that would find me. Not very nice for them. But like I say, it makes you a bit short-sighted. The day came and there was a massive social at uni. And it was in that moment, I don't know what it was, whether it was divine intervention, whether it was me coming to my senses, whether it was fear, or me talking myself out of it, whatever it was, but I just thought of not anything that was in front of me, everything that was behind me. So my family, my friends, my little brother, who at the time would have only been a teenager, and how I would have felt if my brother had made that decision. What would I have done? How would have I felt if someone, my brother, my best mate, someone had made that decision? Where would that put me? Would I have wanted to help them? Would I have wanted to do something about it? Would I feel guilty? Would I obviously feel sad? Would I feel angry? I don't know, it just kind of brought me back to earth again. It was kind of like, what are you doing? What are you doing? I got changed and I went out, and yes, I got very drunk at that Christmas social, but in terms of poor life choices, I think that was the better one. And at that point I decided, right, this is my last day at uni, I'm not going back. That's it. Rather than calling time on me, I called time on the thing that was affecting me, the thing that I could control, rather than just pressing the end button. Thank God I did, because honestly, being at the point where I am now, I'd never have thought then. But if I could go back to myself, my 20-year-old self at uni, thinking that my life was going to be constantly ruined by anxiety, I'd tell her this: you're going to have experiences in life where your anxiety is going to play a part. It's part of life, it's something that you're just going to have to live with. But you do live with it, and you do learn to cope with it, and you're going to achieve some things that you never thought you were going to achieve. There are going to be people in your life, or people who come into your life temporarily, who make you feel bad for it. They're going to use it against you. They're going to use it to justify some of the stuff that they do. That's their problem, and you come to learn that that's their problem and not yours. However, by the time you get to not far off 24, you're going to be writing for a living, which is something that you absolutely love. You're going to be writing for the British Bandsman, which is the oldest brass band magazine, about something that you adore. Your blog is going to take off more than you ever thought it would. You're going to have the confidence to do things like YouTube vids. You're going to audition for a Sainsbury's advert and get the job and be on national television for all of 5 seconds after Coronation Street. Your music is going to be the thing that saves you. God, emotions, don't like them. Don't push that button. The thing is with suicide, it makes us feel like it's a solution. It's not. All it's doing is preventing things from getting better. And I don't want anybody to feel the way that I felt. Luckily I didn't act upon it. I know that sadly there are people that do. But I wouldn't want anybody throwing away the opportunity for it to get better. Because I didn't think I'd be at this point, just 4 years later. 4 years is nothing. 4 years is nothing. I didn't think I'd be at this point in my life 4 years ago. And I'm excited for what might happen in the next 4 years. I know that there's going to be hard knocks, but I know I can deal with it. And at the moment you might not be able to feel that you can. I didn't think I could. Honestly, I didn't think I could. And you may be nervous to explain to people the way that you feel. God, I was. Because it just wasn't a thing that anybody thought I would feel. And when I did, you know, when I was honest with my friends and family and said I'm depressed, they were shocked. They were surprised, because that's not my personality. And they may be shocked and surprised because you've hid it so well. But it's exhausting keeping that up. You may think that ending it all is easier, but honestly, being honest with yourself, that this is the way that you feel and it is valid. I am not saying that if you feel this way it's not valid. It is. God, I know it is. It's awful. But coming out and telling people this is the way that you feel and getting help for it and having other people understand where you are and where you've been is so helpful. And it's not something that defines you. Having depression or anxiety doesn't have to define you. It doesn't have to hold you back. It's something that you have to take your time with. I'm sad that I was in that space. I'm sad that I felt that that was the only way to fix it. And my heart breaks for anybody who feels that that's the way they have to fix it. But it isn't the way to fix it. It isn't. You are useful. You are useful. You play a part in life. You play a part in this planet. You play a part in other people's lives that you might not see. You might not see. You might only see yourself and what you're going through at the moment, but you don't see how important you are in other people's stories. You're not just a character in your own story, you're a character in theirs. Your brothers, your sisters, your mother, your father, your friends, people who you're around, your work colleagues, you are a character in their story. And although you might not think they'll miss you when that character gets taken away, my God, they will. They will. And there is so much more left in life for you to do. So much more. You may not see it now, but you will only see it when you see it. And if, pressing that button means you're never going to see it. And do you not want to know? So, a couple of years ago, I went and I got a tattoo. Which is this, I don't know if you can see. For those of you who don't know, full stops are a rubbish piece of punctuation because it means something has ended. We don't like when things end. Semicolon means that you could have chosen to stop that sentence, but you chose to carry on. You can see the analogy. Which is quite fitting, I think, now, because I'm a writer. I could have chosen to put a full stop, but I chose not to. And also with the music note, because as long as there's music, I don't want to leave. As long as there's music, I don't want to leave. And again, I didn't know how prominent music would be in the future of my life when I got this tattoo. This tattoo was basically because music is a big part of my life, and the semicolon means that I could have pressed full stop and decided not to, so I've got a semicolon. But I didn't know that this was almost like a prediction for the future. And every time I get a bit low, that's a reminder that my sentence isn't finished yet. I've got a hell of a lot more to say, which is fitting, really, considering how much I waffle. Right, so that's my story. I hope that you are well. Whoever's watching this, if you're not, please, if you don't do it for anybody else, do it for me. Do it for yourself, do it for your family, do it for whoever. If you are in a really, really tough space, speak to someone, anyone. Speak to somebody. Whether you send a text, you send an email, you send a carrier pigeon, if you go and see somebody in person, you ring someone, speak to someone, let them know the way that you're feeling. Because they would 100% rather listen to you get upset over how you feel or hear the hard time you're going through than listen to a funeral service. I think anybody would choose that over a funeral service. Funerals are awful. They're horrible. I will put the links down to a couple of suicide prevention charities down below and mental health charities down below that you can get in contact with if you don't feel comfortable speaking to a family member or a friend. But please, 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 please get in touch with somebody if you are struggling. But please, please, please do not suffer in silence. Do not think that this has to be the end, because it doesn't. I cannot emphasise enough, it does get better. It does. Honestly, you are just taking away opportunities that could be given to you that are brilliant. You could be in a Sainsbury's advert if you wanted to. But please, if you are struggling, please, please, please speak to somebody and keep yourself safe, keep yourself well. I think that's everything I need to say. Sending you lots of love. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.